So I wanted to share with you guys today a tool that I think is pretty amazing, and it was owned by my great-great-grandfather, who was a first-generation American, and he lived in a predominantly German-settled community in rural Missouri. And the neat thing about this piece is we have a date on it of January 1902. So he was definitely using this as a carpenter, and we know he was a traveling carpenter at that time. So really being able to hold a piece of history is pretty cool. And really at first glance, this is a pretty basic tool, but the more you look at it and the more kind of time I've spent studying this, the more amazing of a piece of technology this really was to him, I'm sure, at the time. You're going to kind of notice a couple things about this is that the left-hand side, which I'm assuming represents kind of the original side, is laid out in Roman numerals. So you can see 45 degrees here. It's kind of easy to see. And then on the right-hand side, someone has actually scraped away the wood finish because you can kind of feel an indentation here, and has written in the degrees to kind of get away from the Roman numerals. The next thing I kind of recognized right away, and it took me a little time to figure out, was you see a lot of dots. So there's kind of an index dot here on the 90-degree line at the bottom, and there's several small dots here, and several of these degree lines also have dots on them. And it took me a while to realize that they were actually for using a pair of points. Now, I'm still not 100% certain what these dots would have been used for, but obviously a layout of some point. So if you've got an idea or know for sure, leave me a comment in the section below, and let's start a dialogue about this piece. One of the other things that this piece could have been used for, because obviously a carpenter in rural Missouri probably didn't have access to a speed square, and we know it wasn't invented until 1925. So the fancy things that you're able to do with a speed square, this protractor could do as well. So if you had a Stanley bevel, you could transfer these degrees onto a piece of wood. And the other thing you could do with this piece is to use it in conjunction with a plumb bob by flipping it upside down, and you would have been able to use this as a level. So lay this on a board across the bottom, and when your string hangs in line with 90, you would have known it was level. Or maybe you were using this piece to set up a roof angle. So, you knew you wanted your roof to be at a 45-degree angle. The base tips until the plumb bob hangs level, which is a little tough to get on camera there. And you knew you had your roof degree set. There's still a couple other mysteries on here that I'm not quite 100% sure of, and one of them is this line here, and it's on both sides. It's a little tough to see on this side, and if I can kind of show it to you here, it's really, really faint, and if we can get the camera to focus. Right here, there's a rough sketch, and it's scribed in here 1/2, and this side, I think it's probably just been scraped away. And the other thing you see here too is someone has wrote hexagon and then has their arrow pointing over to one of the degree marks. So a pretty amazing piece. And if this piece could talk and tell you the stories of the projects it worked on, I'm sure we'd all be pretty amazed. But very basic piece of technology, but very advanced in 1902 in a rural Missouri community. So wanted to share this with you guys today. I've got a whole chest of tools that I'm going to start a video series for you guys, exploring what was in that chest, and they were all owned by my great-grandfather and great-great-grandfather, and it's a pretty complete carpenter's chest. So if you haven't already, be sure to like and subscribe, and look for those videos coming up here very shortly in the near future.